Good morning, students. Up to now, we have completed our 4 chapters, and in your unit test, total 2 chapters are coming. So, now here we are going to start our 5th chapter, that is your primitive values, typecasting, and expressions. So, here is the introduction that what we will study in this chapter. So, here it is. We will study about data type. We will not study about this one topic, data types, because this one we have already covered. These are of 2 types, primitive types and non-primitive types, and this one also we have studied that in primitive types it's of how many types, and non-primitive types also. So this one we are not going to discuss it again. Then moving to our this one 5.3, that your program providing interactive input to the program. ठीक है, so it means what that in how many ways you can provide the input, like using a scanner class, using input and buffer reader class. So this one also we are also not going to discuss, just because this one already you have covered in 11th standard, and now also you are making the programs using scanner and input reader both. Okay, so moving on to the next here, wrapper class. This one we will study, wrapper class we will study. Then expressions may actually you mainly have to cover the Java expressions, that how to write the Java expressions. Okay, and this one is very easy. Okay, you can do it, but still I will explain this. Then type conversion also you have done in your 9th standard, 10th class also. So type conversion we will study, expressions same. Then assignment operation in Java, this also we will not study, because assignment you know how to assign the value in any variable using constructors also, or direct assignment also. Okay, so only 3 topics we will discuss: your wrapper class, then your type conversion, and your expressions. Okay, so let us start with the first one, wrapper class. So wrapper class are the classes that allow primitive types to be accessed as objects. Means we can use primitive data types, that means primitive means already defined, like int, char, float, long, double, and so on. Okay, so all these primitive types you can use it, or you can access it in the form of object. Now this object can be of any type, that means depends कि which type of class it is. ठीक है, or we can say that which type of class it this object actually belongs to. ये ऑब्जेक्ट किस क्लास से बिलोंग करता है वो डिपेंड करेगा कि हम प्रिमिटिव टाइप से किस टाइप के ऑब्जेक्ट में हम कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं, राइट. देन wrapper class is wrapper around a primitive type because they wrap the primitive data value into the object type. That's why it is known as what, wrapper class, because it wrap around, that means it is used to convert the primitive type into its object type. So this is the definition. So question will come for sure ki what is wrapper class. Okay, and give some example of wrapper class, like this question can come. So write the definition. Only first one is sufficient to write definition of wrapper class. Moving on to next. Each of Java 8 primitive data types like int, char, float, long, double, byte, short, char. So total 8 data types are there, has a class dedicated to it. यानी कि each and every primitive data type has a class which is directly related to it. For example, for small, this one for int data type we are having integer class, integer wrapper class. For long we are having long wrapper class. Look at the difference between these two. Here I am making a small l and here it is capital. So this is the difference. If we are writing long in this way, it is a data type. If we are making the first letter capital, so it means what, it is class. In the same way, for short data type we are having a wrapper class short. In the same way, byte, byte में अगर data type होगा, so it will be used in this way, but here B is capital because it is a wrapper class. Same for char, we are having a wrapper class as character. Okay, so now look at here, primitive data types and wrapper class. So on the left side data type is given, right side it's directly associated wrapper class. Same for short, capital S, small s, for int, integer, for long, capital L, long, then for char, character is the wrapper class, float, this, double, this, and for boolean, this is your wrapper class, right? Now, after this, difference between primitive data type and object of a wrapper class. So look at here, what is the difference between a primitive type and a object of a wrapper class, because we are saying wrapper class are mainly used to convert primitive type into object type, so we should know what is the difference between primitive type and its object type. So here it is, the following two statements illustrate the difference between a primitive and an object type. If we are writing int x is equal to 25 and here we are writing integer y is equal to new integer 33. Now what does this means? Look at here, on the next slide it is given. The first statement we are writing int x is equal to 25 means what? Ki we are declaring a variable which is of which type? Integer type. So here int is a primitive type. It is of primitive data type named as x and initialize it with the value 25. So here it is a primitive data type only. Now what we are doing, we are converting it into its object type. Kaise? Move back again here, look at the example. We are writing integer y, this is actually example number 1. Now this is actually example number 2. ओके यहाँ पे एक सीधा सा एग्जाम्पल दिया है जो डिफाइन कर रहा है कि व्हाट इज़ प्रिमिटिव डेटा टाइप. यहाँ पर आपका ये बता रहा है कि इंटीजर y इज इक्वल टू न्यू इंटीजर इफ वी आर राइटिंग वेयर y इज़ अ ऑब्जेक्ट, y is a object of which wrapper class? Integer wrapper class. So here integer is what? It is a wrapper class. And if I say this int, so it is what? It is a primitive data type, right? So y is a object of which wrapper class? Integer. और यहाँ पे हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We are passing it 33. इसका मतलब क्या है? We are calling the constructor of which class? Integer class. And what is the use of constructor? To initialize the object. It means 33 is passed into this. Now tell me one thing, which type of value is 33? 33 किस टाइप की वैल्यू है? इंटीजर टाइप की वैल्यू. दैट मीन्स प्रिमिटिव, राइट? and you are passing it into which type of variable? Y. So where y means it is a object type, this y is object type. So you are converting integer type of value into its object type. अब देखो 33 क्योंकि integer type की value है तो wrapper class कौन सी use कर रहे हैं? We are using here integer. Okay. So this is how we can convert the integer, that means primitive type of value into its object type. ठीक है. बट द क्वेश्चन इज वाई वी कन्वर्टेड. क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि हम कन्वर्ट क्यों करते हैं प्रिमिटिव टाइप को उसके ऑब्जेक्ट टाइप में. सो द आंसर इज वी आर हैविंग एक्चुअली अ लॉट्स ऑफ यूटिलिटी और वी कैन से लॉट ऑफ फंक्शनैलिटीज और एडवांटेजेस आर देयर विच आर ऑलरेडी डिफाइंड इन द रैपर क्लास. There are many type of utilities or functionalities or we can say advantages which are already available in the wrapper class. So if I want to take the advantage of those wrapper class, so it's better to convert it into its object type. ठीक है, तो ये इसकी advantage थी wrapper class की. Now look at here. So अभी हमने क्या डिस्कस किया था? सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल में we were writing what? सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल में वी आर राइटिंग इंटीजर y इज इक्वल टू न्यू इंटीजर 33. इट मीन्स y इज अ ऑब्जेक्ट एंड यू नो व्हाट ऑब्जेक्ट इज ऑफ विच टाइप? एक्चुअली रेफरेंस टाइप. ऑब्जेक्ट किस टाइप के होते हैं? रेफरेंस टाइप के होते हैं, है ना, नॉन प्रिमिटिव टाइप्स होते हैं. तो रेफरेंस मीन्स एक्चुअली एड्रेस. सो बिकॉज y इज अ रेफरेंस टाइप ऑफ object or we can say reference type of variable, so obviously it will store the address of somebody. ठीक है, तो क्या करेगा? जो 33 वैल्यू है obviously this 33 will get stored in memory at some specified location. Now suppose I assume the address of this memory location is 1000, so this y will not directly store 33, it will store the address, that means it will store the reference of this variable, of this value 33. ठीक है. सो दिस इज़ द डिफरेंस बिटवीन योर प्रिमिटिव टाइप एंड ऑब्जेक्ट. अगर ये प्रिमिटिव टाइप का होता, सपोज इफ वी आर राइटिंग हियर int y is equal to 33, so what it will do, it will create a memory location y and directly store there 33, but because of it is a object type, reference type, so it will store the address of it. Okay, now next, so here what is the need of wrapper class? So wrapper class are used. You can write the advantage in your notebook. Firstly, write the definition of wrapper class. After that, write that proper table. ठीक है. Second slide. Then the next one, wrapper class are used to able to use the primitive type as the object type. We can use it. This is the first advantage. Many utility methods are provided by the wrapper class. This is the second advantage. So to get these advantage, we need to use wrapper class. Okay. And now here we are actually having what different types of wrapper classes, like inside this number class we are having byte class, double, float, integer, short, long. Just like we use long, dot, parse long, we generally use what integer dot parse int, we generally use what short dot parse float. तो integer यानी कि number से deal करने के लिए we are having all these number classes, and inside all these classes we are having the different functionalities to use, depends on our requirement, right? Now for example, look at here, this one, parse int, parse float, parse double, parse long. I hope you all know the functionalities of all this. Parse int, actually what is the working of this? Parse int is used to convert you can say in the string type of data into the integer type. Okay, in the same way you will say for float, for double and for long. So question can come in this way also कि explain parse int function of integer wrapper class. Okay, क्वेश्चन इस तरीके से भी आ सकता है, कोई भी आपसे वो फंक्शन पूछ सकता है, लाइक व्हाट इज़ द यूज़ ऑफ टू स्ट्रिंग फंक्शन ऑफ इंटीजर क्लास. नाउ टेल मी व्हाट इज़ द यूज़ ऑफ टू स्ट्रिंग फंक्शन. जनरली हम ये लिखते हैं ना, हम लिखते हैं इंटीजर डॉट टू स्ट्रिंग and here suppose n. Now what is the working of this two string function? So it is used to convert this, if we are using it with the integer class, so you will write what it is used to convert integer type of data into string type. That means any type of data into string type. So for this purpose we use two string function. तो ऐसा कोई भी आपसे फंक्शन पूछा जा सकता है एग्जाम के अंदर, ठीक है. So here you can write the definition for two string, why we use it. This is the syntax here. टू स्ट्रिंग फंक्शन, जैसे सिंटेक्स क्या है कि इसके अंदर हम वैल्यू लिखते हैं ऑफ एनी पर्टिकुलर डेटा टाइप, किसी भी टाइप की, और उसको रिटर्न किस फॉर्म में करते हैं. रिटर्न टाइप क्या होता है? स्ट्रिंग टाइप का होता है, ठीक है. सो ऑल द रैपर क्लासेस प्रोवाइड अ स्टैटिक मेथड टू स्ट्रिंग. टू इज स्ट्रिंग इज अ नेम ऑफ द मेथड टू प्रोवाइड द स्ट्रिंग रिप्रेजेंटेशन, यानी कि स्ट्रिंग में कन्वर्ट करके देता है ऑफ द प्रिमिटिव वैल्यूज़. प्रिमिटिव वैल्यूज़ का मतलब यहाँ पे जो टाइप वैल्यू होगी वो किस टाइप की होगी? प्रिमिटिव टाइप की होगी. दैट मीन्स इंटीजर, कैरेक्टर, फ्लोट, डबल, anything can be there inside this bracket, and it will convert it into its string form. So for this purpose we use toString function. Now next is here value of function. Now value of function, what is the working of this value of function? It actually converts a string type of data into the primitive type. It is used to convert string type of data into the primitive type. That means here the value of function का जो data type होगा, it can be int, it can be long, it can be double, or it can be short, or any other primitive data type. Clear? Now how to use it? This is the uses here. ठीक है, जनरली यही क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. वैल्यू आपका पूछा जा सकता है या फिर आपसे पार्ट्स के फंक्शंस जो हैं या टू स्ट्रिंग के फंक्शंस, ठीक है, टू स्ट्रिंग फंक्शन. तो ये जनरली क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जो मोस्ट प्रोबेबली फंक्शंस मतलब क्वेश्चंस में पूछे जा सकते हैं. सो हियर इंटीजर डॉट वैल्यू ऑफ 135. सो 135 यानी कि स्ट्रिंग टाइप की वैल्यू यू आर गोइंग टू पास हियर. दिस वन 135 इज अ नंबर विच इज एनक्लोज्ड इन डबल क्योर, सो इट विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू स्ट्रिंग टाइप, विच विल एक्चुअली बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू विच टाइप? इंटीजर टाइप हियर. correct?